Welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of Mr. I am Mr. Pierre, and I am joined by Principal Meekerley Sanon, and so happy to have yet again another fantastic conversation with you, and going with the same theme, if we will, for this month. It seems the last couple of conversations have been with individuals who are stepping into new roles, and so I want to sort of just lead with that of like, how are you, and sort of what is new in your world?
Hey, I am very good. I just stepped into a new executive director role at a charter network. And so in the charter world, your executive director is equivalent to your superintendent in a school district. And I started officially July 1st. So I'm like rounding out month number 4 on the job.
Excellent. And if we could, or if I could, how did that all come about? What led to you stepping into this new role?
I think that there's like this saying that's like opportunity happens when you're like prepared for it.
Yep.
And so like I had started pursuing my superintendent licensure partially because at some point I started asking questions about how policy is made, who's at the table when policies are being made, especially in regards to Black and Brown children. And I think all of us have seen some like seismic shifts in schools over the last couple of years. And so wanting to be in the room at the very least when questions and decisions are being asked and made. And I didn't have a timeline. I've never put a timeline on my career. So I like started the program and was minding my business, and a recruiter called. And the recruiter was like, hey, we're launching this search for an executive director for a charter school in your region. Would you be interested? And my immediate response was like, you got the wrong person. I'm not your person, but I can tell you 4 other people who I think you should reach out to, who I think are really qualified for the job. And like a week later, the recruiter calls me back and like, hey, I called those people. I appreciate you connecting me with those people, but all of those people had your name on their list also. So I think you're selling yourself short.
Interesting.
And so that was...
If I could ask you.
Yeah.
Why was your initial reaction to think of others and not necessarily yourself?
I look young, but I am young. I think really, quite honestly, there's always like imposter syndrome. When I think of, if you think of your own superintendent growing up, you really think of someone with some white hair, right? Like if you think of like a school district, the superintendent is usually a middle-aged, oftentimes male educator.
White man. Yep.
And in the charter world is actually almost entirely run, like most charter networks are founded by white men. And so like I hadn't seen many examples of a charter network being led by a person of color. That is actually changing. I think in the Boston area, 50% of charter leaders at like the top position is a person of color. But my immediate reaction was like, I don't fit the prototype, nor do I have the years of experience or the white hair to fit into that. And I genuinely had thought maybe I'd work myself up to a type of position. So like maybe eventually I'd be like an assistant, superintendent, or like work on a network team or a regional team before stepping into an executive director role.
All right. So I hear the imposter syndrome. I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with always feeling a little less than, and also you talking to, when you don't see it, it's a little difficult to like, all right, I can step into this thing that I don't see anyone who looks like me, or like you mentioned, if everyone who's in that position is so much older. Yowzers with the white hair for because you're absolutely right. It's who are making these decisions, because it just doesn't seem like it's someone who has been in the classroom within the last 5 to 10 years. So props to you. And what were the like sort of like things that you did that enabled for that, I guess, recruiter to reach out to you, because you weren't actively looking for it, but obviously someone saw it?
No, I think that I think the advice that many people give you that's like applicable in almost everything in life is uh, keep a wide network, right? Like I've
Mm,
worked with a lot of people who I have a lot of deep respect for.
hmm
And when they called on me for favors, when I could, I did. And when I needed a favor, I reached out. When I needed someone to kind of like bounce an idea off of, I would reach out. And so I think just keeping an open dialogue with folks that you worked with previously helped me in that regard. I also like did a few things beyond my day job, right? So like every year I did like, my 9 to 5. But when I could, if someone asked me to like speak on a panel or participate, like help out, coach somebody, do just like that 1% that felt doable, I did. And
Yeah.
so over the years, I accumulated enough experiences outside of my day job
hmm
to speak to the different types of experiences that you need to have. Um, and then quite honestly, I think I've always been a learner. So I like
mm
try to keep myself up to speed on things that made me better at what I did. I really took being a school leader. I took being a teacher really seriously. I took being a school leader really seriously. And so whenever I could extend my learning, do better, even when it wasn't really required of me, when it felt feasible and possible, I did it. I engaged in the learning. And so when someone came around and was like, hey, can you do this thing? I'm like, you know what? You're right. I can think about business. I haven't had to think about this in this capacity, but like I have the knowledge, I have the skill sets. And so I'm ready when you tap me in to put me into the game. Let me try
Yeah.
my hand at it. So I think all of those things helped kind of like set a path and like made me feel somewhat confident going into the role. But like everything, you really don't know what you don't know until you get there. So there's definitely
100%.
been a steep learning curve thus far.
You're saying so many things that a lot in the community who listen to the podcast have also repeated of it's just nice to be able to link up with a person who's done the thing when you are just thinking about the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this podcast birthed from having conversations in that lunchroom with other black men and being like, I'm usually by myself, though, to see two other men here with me who think differently but are similar experiences. It's like, so what has worked with them? I'm able to glean from that, and then also speaking to leaders and speaking to people like yourself of like, okay, what's the next step? What's a possible next step? What are the options? So that, like you said, if you're always ready, then you don't need to get ready. When
Yeah.
it's time to get into the game to make
Yeah.
that lateral shift or vertical, whatever, because you've been preparing, you've been doing, you're able to do it. And even though there is a little bit of that imposter syndrome, I can speak to that. Once you're into the game, you're like, oh, I actually do have the skills to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
this. And the practice of actually being in the game, if you will, yeah, it makes it a whole lot more doable. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. What are some things that you are experiencing now as or what is your, I guess, official title, if you could repeat
I'm an
that one more time?
executive director.
Executive director.
So it's like my official title, and I think different charter networks will do it different. So like you'll have a charter network that will call the same role the CEO,
Mm-hmm.
and there are other charter networks that use the public school nomenclature. So I'm like the superintendent. So I like sign off as superintendent when I need to.
And the things that you would have to think about on a day-to-day basis, say as a teacher versus being a principal, and now if I'm going from principal to a superintendent, um, how have those skills, being from a teacher to a principal, how has it helped you to now be able to be at this position and not feel completely overwhelmed to be able to say like, oh no, I do this and I do this well, even though it's month 4.
Um, I think most educators are multitaskers. And
Mm-hmm.
so I got really comfortable, especially as a teacher, right? You have the teacher that'll tell you how you have the eyes in the back of your head, right? Like you are doing many things, right? Like you're attending to someone's wound, you're teaching a lesson, you're tech support, you do a lot of things in the classroom. And as a principal, you're doing similarly you're wearing a lot of different hats. I think as an executive director, I think I just do that at a bigger scale. So like I'm constantly shifting what I am thinking about. My priorities are constantly changing throughout the day. I have to be able to compartmentalize very quickly. So, like
Mm-hmm.
my 8 o'clock meeting, may be radically different than what my 9 o'clock meeting is. So I have to be able to be ready to shift my mindset to be able to engage in a different conversation at all the different points. And then, like we know, kids bring the energy and the excitement, be able to respond when something completely unplanned happens and be like, well, we got to pause. Here's the situation. Someone pulled the fire alarm, like whatever happened. Like now we gotta engage, right?
Yep.
And so I think if you think about it in that way, I'm doing literally what your classroom teacher is doing, just amplified and with a lot more balls up in the air being juggled.
Got it. So knowing that, and we'll keep the teacher analogy of the multitask juggler of having to keep all these things up in the air, make sure nothing falls and cracks and breaks, while also attending to these little ones who don't know how to regulate so well, and maybe some adults who don't know how to regulate as well. But what is keeping you? Because what I found for myself is that I've got to find something joyous. I think we've spoken about it too, of like, hey, what's that thing that I do in the classroom where the kids benefit from it? But it's really, I'm doing it because I know that this is going to keep me going. So if it's me playing the music during class, it's like, it's beneficial to the kiddos. It's like, no, I need to hear Whitney right now so that I can get to a place to be able to help student A, student B, and student C, and then make sure that the other adults on campus or parents at home also are if you will, juggled correctly as well. What's doing that for you right now?
A couple of things. I don't have all the power, but I definitely have the power to start crafting the team that brings me joy. So I've definitely chosen people and created a team, put people around me that bring some joy to doing work that's really hard. So one is getting the team that you need to help support you in doing really difficult work. I think secondly, I actually genuinely love my job. I genuinely love seeing Black and brown kids be Black and brown kids, right? I want to see you recording a TikTok. Hopefully it's not during class time, right? I want you to keep it going. I want to see the hairstyles. I want to see your baby hairs on fleek. All of that gives me energy. So genuinely just walking through the hallway. And I love, especially our Black and brown kids, they let you know how they are feeling. They have no filter. So just me hanging out in the hallway, I will have at least 15 interactions that refill my cup, right? Everything from Miss, I love your hair, to Miss, okay, I'm here, I'm feeling those earrings, to Miss, can I ask you a question? All of that energy genuinely brings me joy and refills my cup, especially in the role that I'm in where I am almost entirely not student focused. So not student facing. So I have very few purposeful moments in my day where I am required to be the adult in the room with kids. So me seeking out those moments, those pockets of joy, showing up to the student council meeting, going to a basketball game, seeing our kids at dismissal, that actually brings me a whole lot of joy.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful to hear. And I'm hoping that anyone else who listens to this knows to do the same, because what I heard you say was, one, crafting a team, making sure the people around you, making sure that the people who you're interacting with or who are interacting with you that there's a vision there, that y'all see things similarly, so that you're all working towards the same direction. And kiddos are going to be just kiddos, and being able to continue to get joy from that is fantastic as well. So glad to hear it. I am always just happy to see the next move whenever I'm speaking with you. And how did you craft, or how do you, or maybe I think the better question is, what is sort of your vision? Knowing from our first conversation, hey, education wasn't initially the goal, but I got into it. And once I was into it, I did X, I did Y, I did Z. And I'm also even looking at A prime, B prime, even further down the line, so that the teachers who are coming in right now, or the teachers who are in right now, because I'm sure you knew this as a principal, and I'm sure you're seeing even more as a superintendent, there are so many who are choosing to leave for a myriad of reasons. And whatever their reasons are, they are valid. That's not why we're not gonna discuss should they, shouldn't they. Their choices are their choices. However, for those who are still in the profession and choosing to be in the profession, whether that be for one more year or another 10 years, whatever it is, while you're here, I hope that you are happy to be here. And if you're not, definitely, exit stage left and be okay with that. There'll be no shade from this direction being thrown to you, because there's a number of reasons why you'll choose to leave. But for, I guess what I'm asking, and asking this long-windedly, is like, what do you keep on your horizon so that you keep moving?
For me, are you asking for me personally as a professional? Like, what's on my horizon? What am I aiming towards?
I guess what I'm asking is, from a person who's seen you do what you've done from afar, like, I just beam with joy. I'm like, yeah, she keeps killing it. At every point, there's always the next thing, or the thing that you have done next that seems to have gone really well. And how are you able to do that?
I don't think I have a good answer to that.
And that could be the answer.
I think I have been fortunate to have experienced a lot of different aspects of education. Mm-hmm. I have engaged with, benefited from, learned from, been mentored by a lot of individuals who take the work of education very seriously. Mm-hmm. And so my long-term and short-term goal is always to foster a space where kids are getting an excellent experience at school. That's always what I want, right? I think long-term, if you ask me my ideal job my ideal dream job, I think to your point, as I see teachers come into this work, as I see novice principals start off in this work, I'd love to be back somewhere helping craft their thinking before they get out into the real world. And so I am gleaning as many experiences as I can, so that one day I can be of service to those individuals. I'd love to be at a college teaching a class where I'm okay, I think we've all had that. What happened? Are you still recording?
Yeah. Okay. I feel like that's the gem of it, of what's that next step is. And I think in short, it's how do I give back? That you're not looking to hoard all these gems, all these experiences, all this knowledge for yourself. And all right, one day I'm going to be gray haired and I'm just going to sit back and chill. You're all right, how do I give it back?
I think for me, it's we all have that moment of I wish someone told me.
Yeah.
I'm just how do I get ahead of that? Right. As a teacher, I'm there were so many moments where I'm why didn't anyone tell me? We spent so many course, minutes doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm I have never thought about that, or one random chart that talks about, who knows what step, right? Versus, I wish someone had told me how to organize my grading so that I can do it in a sustainable fashion, but is also equitable to giving kids feedback on time, right?
Yes.
As a principal, I had the same moment. I was man, I just wish somebody would hand me a primer, right? I'm a good follow direction type of person. Mm-hmm. I was if you handed me a book that told me from step A to step Z, here's how to be a really good principal, I would have followed that book. But instead, the way to become a really good principal is have to live through these experiences, make some unfortunate decisions, and learn from your mistakes. And similarly, now that I'm as a superintendent, I have the benefit of managing two principals really closely. And so being able to be they're both really early in their careers as principals. So for me to be hey, I'm not telling you have to, but you might want to think about making some folders in your inbox and automating some of these emails so that you're not drowning in 10,000 emails every day. Listen, I'm just going to drop that and then I walk away, right? And so I see myself as their manager, yes, and I'm also I'm in the state's eyes responsible for making sure learning is happening in our building. And at the same time, I hope that throughout their time with me, that they get to see me as that person that kind of saved them from a mistake, help them dig out of a hole that they unintentionally got into, gave them a few gems to your point, right? Like every time we meet, I'm like, I have an agenda, but I also want to be responsive to what you need right now. So like, okay, so let's talk about it. Like, what are you dealing with? Okay, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to require you to deal with that situation in this exact way, but here's some ideas. Here's what I've seen go well, or here's how I've seen it go wrong in my past, and you take with it as you do. And afterwards, we'll talk about it. We'll chat about it. We'll find the learnings, right? Like, that's my goal. I'm doing it with 2 people, but I want to name that there are a lot of people entering these roles without actual development, right? And so like I eventually want to get into a space where I'm able to impact a lot more people so that when they walk into the job, it's not such a steep learning curve. It shouldn't be. Like, you don't want the person in the building who has to do the most learning, the person with the most responsibility. Right?
Yes.
that just feels backwards to me.
Yes.
Similarly, you don't want kids entering a classroom. The kids need to do a lot of learning, but yet the teacher also is doing like the steep learning curve too alongside them. That does not feel right? Right. In most professions, people are entering, feeling really good or equipped with the tools to be good at their job. And I just wish that in education, we did a better job of preparing people before they entered into specific spaces.
Yeah.
So right now I find myself like, of service to the community that I'm part of, but long term, I love to be able to be in a space where I catch people before they go out into the real world. Like, hey, in about 6 months, you're about to leave here and be responsible for 400 children. Here are a couple of things. Let's map out your year. Let's think about your entry plan, right? Like, there are some deep and great conversations that need to be had, and they just don't happen enough with enough individuals in education.
First, amen. Second, most teachers, I would say, are looking to do the thing that I think you eloquently put it, of like, I just want to give back. If someone would have told me X, Y, and Z before I stepped into X, Y, and Z, then I would feel stepping into X, Y, and Z feel a whole lot better. Because I think a lot of us teachers, I know for myself, that first year was just a lot of anxiety of, I know math, I know science, that isn't an issue. How do I effectively give this to the group of kiddos who are in front of me in such a way that, 1, they authentically see me, and 2, if they're not at the beginning of the year enthused about the subject, at least, or hopefully by the end of the year, more so than they were at the beginning. And thinking of, and hearing what you're saying too, of like, these 2 principals who are in front of me, again, like you mentioned, you don't have to do it exactly like this. However, here are some things that may not be in your line of vision that are going to come from the periphery. So get ready for it. And something as simple as like, yeah, in your email, let's automate this. This goes to this folder, so that you're not looking at what I can only imagine as superintendent or principal.
You don't got to read the attendance email every day unless you have a purpose, right? But it got to come to your inbox, right? Like, in case something happens, you're like, can I look it up? Was this child missing? Right? Like, I think the other piece that you named, right? We are experiencing such a massive exodus in education, right? Yeah. And some of it is for a lot of different reasons. I know folks are looking to have a more sustainable life. And one of the things that I think about is, had some people told me some really specific moves earlier in my career, the job would have felt a lot more sustainable. And I stuck it through, but it shouldn't be a matter of like, who can survive that stays, right? Like, when I tell people, like, I was a principal, I actively had a regular personal life. Like, I went home and turned off my laptop and was good till the next morning, right? Well, even now in my current role, when I tell people, like, I will almost never be emailing you on the weekend. And if you email me on the weekend, please expect that I will not be answering until probably midday on Monday, right? Like, I gotta come in, get my coffee, get my bearings. And like, I'm not promising you nothing on an immediacy, right? Like, but it took me 11 years to get to a place where I have a very good grasp of my boundaries, what I need to do, what's important, what could be deprioritized. and how to use my time really efficiently.
Yeah.
But I just wonder of the people leaving if someone had given them some guidance and also given them permission. Like I had a check-in with my staff, my new staff, like a month ago, and people, they was a listening tour. People were telling me how they were experiencing the start of the school year, and we were talking about work-life balance, and people were like stressed about someone sending an email on a weekend. And I asked like a real simple question. I was like, so why do you have Outlook on your cell phone? Because if you don't have it on your cell phone, or if your notifications are off, because I, as your executive director, I do not have Outlook notifications on my cell phone. So like, if I have not deemed it essential for me to get an actual alert every single time someone emails me, can I give you permission to unchain yourself from that? Can we take out our cell phones? If it is truly having a negative impact on your mental health, I promise you, if somebody was missing, if a child's life was in danger, we will not be sending an Outlook email, okay? And so like I think of Outlook is kind of like it's letting me know which tasks are coming up, which conversations need to be had, which meetings need to be scheduled, but it is not an immediate response tool, right? And so in our community, we have Zoom chat. Your Zoom chat lets you know, it's like a quick yes, no answer, or, you know, something's happening, we need you out here or something. But that for me is immediacy, right? Like we'll Zoom chat like, hey, you know, hey, do you have 5 minutes to check in? That's a Zoom chat. You answer yes or no. But if I send you an email, I'm not expecting you to answer in that moment. And if it's Saturday at 2 p.m., I'm not expecting you to answer. I'm not even expecting you to be reading this. I may need to send that email at Saturday at 2 p.m. just because of the way my role is set up. But it is not sent with the expectation that you are engaging with this. And I would rather you not. I want you to go out and be a full human being on the weekend. I want you to go take that hike with your dog. I want you to go to your family's house and have that dinner. Like that well-roundedness, you living your best life on the weekend will ensure that I have a well-rested, ready to go teacher on Monday. And whatever I emailed you about, I promise you we'll have time to answer it, right? Like, so I think moments like that, when I realized that it was like literally critical for me to give people permission to set boundaries, I'm like, oh man, this is just one conversation. And I'm wondering how many other conversations need to be had so that people can feel that this work can be sustainable, yet, that it can be done, to a level, to a bar that our kids should receive, right? Like I still want us to do excellent work together. We know, especially for serving certain communities, what it will take for them to be serviced right and well. And I'm sorry, my dog.
I feel like your dog.
He's the mayor. He wants to talk to people.
I feel like he's just like saying pause. She knows what she's talking about, and she's dropping all the gems. So like, I feel like that's a good moment to literally just pause and be like, you're right. Sometimes it has to be super explicit. And I'm even thinking about myself right now as a teacher of having to at times say to kiddos, like, pause. If your homework is taking you 1, 2, 3 hours, stop. Have it be incomplete. Come see me tomorrow, because homework shouldn't be that long. And having to be explicit with parents too, of like, if your kid doesn't finish their homework, it's okay. Like, if your kiddo's like, Mom, Dad, I'm stressed, and you try to help and it doesn't help, then stop heaping that onto your kiddo, because they're just going to come tomorrow even more anxious. And maybe they don't even feel comfortable saying, like, Mister, I didn't finish my homework. And then that compounds on a whole bunch of things. So I think that explicitness, I think you've said this a couple of times, of like, make it super explicit as to what it is that you feel like is just like a given. Because I think a lot of teachers and adults have been in systems, have been in communities, have had that culture of like, yeah, the moment I send an email, you need to reply back, where you're explicitly saying to your team, nah, kid, or nah, sir, no, ma'am, don't do it.
That might be the bar you set for yourself, but I will
Yeah.
promise you that if you email me, it's going to take me a heartbeat to get back to you.
Right. Right.
Unless I see critical, urgent, please respond. And I'm like, if I send you something that really requires your immediate response, I will probably follow it up with some other type of communication, and it will be rare. It will literally be really explicit and clear why. And once you see, you're like, oh yeah, this definitely requires my attention.
Yeah.
But there are other things too. Like we had this conversation as a team. We're almost like in a space of reckoning in the charter world where for many years, I think it was like a badge of honor to say that we are the ones that craft and write every single thing that our children see. Right. And I think that as we have moved forward and we're really thinking about the bounds and definitions of our role, there's a genuine question for us, at least at our school, is just like, as a teacher, are you also a curriculum writer? And does that require a different job title? And how is this intersecting with your sustainability? So to your same point, right, the example of the homework assignment taking forever, having the same conversation with teachers with lesson plans. I'm like, hey, if it is taking you until midnight to write your lesson plan and create every piece of material that the kids engage with, I think we need to reconsider this. I was that teacher. I wrote a lot. I wrote probably every piece of curriculum that I taught. That was over 10 years ago, though, right? And do I want for you to be waking up at 3 a.m. to trek to the 24-hour Walmart to pick up the lab supplies? Do I want that for you? I don't know. I don't think I do. That's
the answer is no.
You to being really
no.
happy, right?
No.
Right? So it's like, what, let's, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? So it's kind of like, as a community, at what point do we acknowledge that this task is having a negative impact on our sustainability? And we need to be okay with doing something slightly different, right? And so for years in the charter world, we wore it as a badge of honor. Like we write our curriculum, we craft everything. I'm like, and you know that there are some really happy people who chose the job of writing curriculum, who love thinking about scope and sequence and vertical and horizontal alignment. They will do that work for you. Yes, you will still have to do some work because we still need to be responsive to our students. But must you be that person that wrote problem number 1 on that do now? Like, will it make you a lesser teacher if you start off with some lesson plan that somebody else had initially crafted and you are now at the editing phase, or you're now on the personalization or individualization phase or the differentiation phase, right? Like, at what, like, and I think that it was like eye-opening for some of my teachers to be like, oh, I can give myself permission. It does not make me a less of a teacher to be able to say like, hey, you know what? This external curriculum has already been vetted. At the very least, even if I'm not happy with 100% of the words written on this piece of paper, someone else has done the back work and I get to start from somewhere, right? And to your point, it's like, go to your manager and tell your manager transparently what part of your job is stressing you out. Or like, I was like, why are you grading every single thing that this kid has written on the paper? Like, that makes sense, right? Like, what was the objective for the day? What portion of the assignment directly relates to that objective or standard? And can you just grade that thing? So if your objective was, like, student will be able to identify 2 literary devices, that one sentence where the kid says author uses X literary devices, that's what you're grading. Why are you reading an essay from start to finish times 100 kids? That's not sustainable. Or like, what's the purpose? What are you doing with that data? And so I'm realizing there are a lot of questions, a lot of conversations that we haven't been having in education for fear of feeling like we're not doing the work. And the work is educating kids. The work is also being happy, fulfilled human beings educating these children, right? A martyr is not what our kids need. Nope. And so I think that has definitely, to our larger point of like, what are the conversations that need to be had? Give ourselves permission to go to the people responsible for us at work and engage in transparent and honest conversation. Because I think that if we did, and I also acknowledge on the other hand, the leaders who are receiving these conversations need to be ready and willing to engage in that conversation also, right? Like, so it has to be a two-way street. There has to be honest, like an openness, a willingness. But I do want, like, I'm like, yes, if you absolutely cannot do this work with joy, please choose otherwise. However, if you really enjoy this work, but there are things that are stressing you out about this work, have a conversation. You got nothing to lose. The only thing to lose is our kids. They're going to lose a really great teacher because you didn't have a conversation. So, like, what is it that you're asking? And, like, we have a conversation also, like, we're not chained to any one community or school setting, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, I've had some conversations with, especially, I think I'm a woman, right? So, like, I'm a woman, right? And so I'm in my 30s, so I'm having a lot of conversation with teachers, educators, leaders who are also in their 30s. And for us, this is like, prime fertile years, right? Like, I have a child. And for a lot of people, they're like, I feel like I got to give up this work. I'm like, do you have to give it up, or do you have to change how you do the work? Do you have to change where you do the work? Even if it's for a few years, even if it's for a heartbeat, right? Like, what changes, what acts can you make to see if this work could work for you? Because maybe you never know, right? Like, I entered a community, and there are people who are like a 0.8, right? Like, or a 0.6. So they're on campus for 3 days. I'm like, they must have just asked. Somebody okayed this contract to be a 0.6, and they made it work. I'm not saying it will work forever. And if where you're at, you ask, and they're like, we can't make it work. There probably, if you're a good person, if you're good at what you do, there will be somebody else who will say, actually, it will work for us. Come here.
Yes. Come here.
And in that way, we're still serving the kids.
That's it. All of what you said, thank you. I have been finding what you just mentioned of what is the worst. Because if you are truly unhappy where you are, that is the worst. Nothing's going to be, that's it. So the only thing you have to lose, there really isn't anything to lose. It's only to gain. Because what you mentioned too is your kiddos ultimately are the ones who are losing. Because they need to have a person who's enthused, happy, is able to be their 100% self in front of them, teaching them the subject material. Because they're going to see that this person believes in whatever it is that they're attempting to share with the kiddos. And if kiddos can see it, we can see it as well. If you're with a person enough, you're like, yo, something's changed.
Yeah.
What's up? That little spark in your eye has seemed to dim. What's going on? How can I help? And kiddos are in front of you all the time, and they'll see it. And ultimately, if you don't speak up to say, like, hey, this is what I need, or I can no longer do X when I was able to do X, because life happens and things change. For our kiddos, we just call that an individual education plan.
Yes.
Why can we not then just be like, all right, as an adult, like you said, perhaps it's just for a season. Maybe it's for a year or two. I need X, Y, Z to be able to be happy and also take care of my family, to do whatever. And once that's fine, I can go back to doing that, or maybe I can't go back to that ever. And that's okay too.
Well, maybe I really love this new iteration of doing this work, right? Like, and that you might have never known was on the other side until you got to that other side. So I think it's just thinking outside the box. And I also definitely want to double emphasizing this caveat. Mm-hmm. You gotta be doing it with people who are willing to do that creative, innovative thinking also, right? Like, it's not gonna work everywhere. And I also acknowledge that in education, a lot of things are very, very static, right? This is how it's always been. This is the only way that we can do things. And it's just like, if you're in that environment and that you by yourself, you can make the change, but you're not gonna be able to fight the whole system. That will wear you down. And so really making sure that you're being mindful of who you're trying to engage this conversation with. But if they are open, have a conversation. Like, hold on to your joy. This work is hard. But it's also deeply joyful, deeply fulfilling if you're doing it in the right place with the right people.
Amen. As always, it is a joy to speak with you. It is a joy to hear what the what next is that you are accomplishing. And I think that part too of how to craft or how to craft a team, knowing like, okay, who do I need to speak to? Who do I need to have those conversations with? When a person asks me to, hey, are you able to do X, Y, Z? To know enough about myself to be able to say no, or to be like, oh, no, this is something I can do, and it's not going to be detrimental to me, nor is it going to be able to, if when I say yes or no, it's not going to like let the other person down in such a major or negative way. Because that's also something too that we need to talk about too, of like, you just got to be able to say no and be okay with that no, and know like, no, I can't do everything. I can't do everything. You may be calling me a Superman. Yeah, it's not. It's not. No.
But you could also, I've also learned that you can also be the person that people go to for the alley-oop, right?
Yes.
So I'm not saying yes all the time, but can I connect you with somebody who can help you get what you need, right? Like, are you, going back to our earlier point, what does your network look like? What does your relationship look like with the folks that you've worked with in the past? Are you staying abreast of people who are doing really cool and exciting things, right? Like that colleague that used to chop it up with in the lunchroom, they left, maybe they started a nonprofit, or maybe they're doing some type of tutoring on the side. Yep. And then maybe your new school leader comes up, it's like, man, I really wish I had somebody to think about math tutoring after school. And you're like, boom, I am not willing to stay till 6:30 to tutor these children. However, I have this other person that you can contact, and maybe you got a contract with them, and the need is fulfilled. You're the alley, you provided the alley-oop, and like life goes on, right? So like that network piece is actually pretty critical, and I think is especially essential. I know we talk about educators at large, but like especially if you're a person of color doing this work, sometimes it definitely feels isolating. And so it's really fun to do work alongside people you like. So like, I'm an advocate for making some work friends and bring your work friends with you, right? Like I said, we roll up as a crew.
Exactly. Tell your friends to be my friends.
Roll out as a crew, but like, that's how it happens. But at the same time, also it's like thinking about, and I've had this conversation with folks who are like earlier in their careers, like, what's your your professional support system? Who are the people that you can go to either, maybe we all have that moment in the quarter, if you're a teacher, that you got some heavy grading to do. Can you meet up with some people? You guys eat some good food. You get your papers out. You maybe hit your headphones on, but like just their presence is energizing you and encouraging you to go on. Who are the people that you surround yourself with that you can tap into when you have an especially hard time, and they can provide you with a different perspective, right? I think about like in my new community, I really enjoy, like, I love humans, I love community, but I'm like tapped out on a Saturday. I'm like, I'm going home, I'm doing my own thing. But the high school principal, he runs this like basketball pickup game every Saturday. It's legendary now. Like people come from all over the place to come play basketball. It's a bunch of old people. Like they're not old. He's gonna hate me that I said it, right? Like, but it's like,
you don't know his name. You don't know his name.
To our high school college glory days. But that community is probably filling some people's cups, right? Right? Like you might have had a really hard Monday through Friday. Maybe, that lesson didn't hit. You had a tough interaction with a child or a parent or a colleague, but knowing that you're going to spend some time in your off time doing something that's completely unrelated to work, but alongside people who do similar work to you, it's filling your cup, right? So really think about what is your network looking like? How are you surrounding yourself with the people that you need to keep doing this work? I don't think, again, going back to the thing that people didn't tell you, and now we're like telling you, like, find your people, like connect with your people, doing this work by yourself. No one being that teacher who's at work till 9 p.m. solo in their classroom, grading day after day after day, it is going to lead to burnout.
Yeah.
So find that community. There are professional groups that you can join. Just look on Facebook or LinkedIn. Like every major city usually has like a Black teachers collaborative or something like that. And just check them out. Try to make some friends in that space who look like you, who can relate to you, so that you can keep doing the work. Because you can't do it by yourself, right? Like even myself, even in this new role, right? First thing I did month one, I was like, who looks like me, who is doing this work that I can call when I'm like, this thing is bananas, and that person is bananas, and either I'm with you with the bananas, or here's how I dealt with that banana, right? Like, and like that has given me so much life. It's not like we're talking every day. It's not like we're talking every minute. But like when I need a check-in, when I need a person, I'm like, only you will understand, or only a few people will understand what I'm about to tell you. Pick up the phone, vent, and like, all right, we're good. We're like, I'm on my way home. Can we stop? You need me? Okay, let's grab a drink somewhere. Let's have the drink. Let me encourage you. Let me listen, and then we're gonna keep part ways and keep doing this work. That's important, right? Like find your people so you can keep doing the work.
That's it, folks. I mean, she said it and said it really well. Find your people so that your cup will be filled, so that you can continue doing the work in whatever capacity that is. Maybe it's a school teacher, maybe it's a classroom teacher, maybe it's a principal, maybe it's the superintendent of a charter. Whatever it is, find your people so that you can keep on keeping on, helping our kiddos. And that's it. To you, Mickey, thank you very much, Principal Sanon, Superintendent Sanon. Now let me change the title.
That's okay. I'll always be a teacher. I'll always be a principal at heart. I love those. I love what I've done thus far in education. That's my goal this year. Do a different job, but still love it.
That's it. Continue to love it is, I think the title of the whatever role you're in, whatever role you're stepping into, continue to love it. And with that, folks, I feel like that's a great spot to end the conversation. So to you again, Superintendent Sanon, thank you very much. I'm Mr. Pierre. She's Miss Sanon. This has been another episode of the Chronicles of Mr. We'll catch you the next time.
Bye.